it's Jason Jones again here on Mobile Music Thursday. Thanks for tuning in this week, where we take a look at what DJs are playing all across the country, interview a lot of interesting DJs about what they play, what they don't play, how they make their sets, how they do their music, how they program their night, and bring it all to you every week. Plus, we take a look at the charts and see what's hot, what's not, and what's happening in that world. So tonight, our guest is going to be Jake Palmer from Mankato, Minnesota. Been a career DJ for over 20 years, as well as a radio host. Owns a company called Party Sounds, and has made one of his specialties working bars. So we're going to talk about like what's the difference between like working bars and a club, and how is a bar gig different from a wedding gig in terms of music, and a whole lot of different ways. It turned out to be a great interview about a lot of great stuff. If you've ever been interested in doing the bar market, this is going to be the show that you're going to want to see. Tonight's show is going to be in 2 parts. That's right, it's going to be like the Lord of the Rings trilogy. You'll have to live in suspense to find out what happens in Two Towers right after Fellowship of the Ring. Well, maybe not that exciting, but it's going to be fun, and there's lots of good stuff in both episodes. So tonight will be part 1 of 2 parts with Jake Palmer, and we're going to get to that in just a moment. But first, let's take a look at what's happened in music. Not a lot of change or really any sudden movements within the top 10s or even the downloads. The only thing that was a bit sudden is Lana Del Rey, which last week was right there in the top 10 downloads, vanished for the top 10 altogether with West Coast. Probably not a big surprise, kind of a sad song, and not nothing too good to party to. A move up is Jason Derulo with Talk Dirty to Me and 2 Chainz. They're holding out and still climbing. And also the song Selfie is still, actually may have peaked, and so it's actually moved down to 17th slot in the top 40 in terms of radio play. So we'll have to see just exactly how that pans out in terms of how it shows up for downloads and how it is for this song. This could be the song of the summer at this summer's weddings or even at the bars and clubs that we play at. In country, a couple of the very top 10, the top 2 sitting in country is Goodnight Kiss with Randy Houser, and then Blake Shelton, Doing What She Likes. And also noticing at about number 9, This Is How We Roll, Florida Georgia Line, is on the rise within the radio charts and has been doing really well within the top 10 downloads. Actually, not quite the top 10 downloads, in the top 20 downloads. The other country song that's really holding out tight in the most downloads, and one to keep a look to have in your playlist, is that song on my list, Luke Bryan, and Play It Again, although he doesn't sing it quite like that at all. So other interesting, Justin Timberlake moves into the top 10 in terms of big downloads for Not a Bad Thing. And then Coldplay, they popped into the top 10 with their Midnight song. And honestly, other than playing it for your girlfriend on a nice romantic night, I have no idea when you would actually play Midnight. It's just a little bit too dramatic of a song. So that is the movement in music for this week. Let's get on with our interview portion for tonight, because I'm really excited for you to get to know this very extraordinary, talented guy out of Mankato, Minnesota, Jake Palmer of Party Sounds. His company's been in the business for over 24 years, and he does everything from weddings to corporates, bar DJs, and even some kids events. So let's talk to Jake. Well, Jake, thanks for being here. You are my first guest in studio.
It's an honor.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that's a momentous occasion.
In the Jones Sticky Studios.
It's awesome.
This is great. So if he turns a little bit color, peaked, then we'll know why.
It's all good.
So making the drive all the way up from Mankato, this is really, really awesome.
Driving is part of being a mobile DJ.
That's right.
Entertainer.
That's right.
It has to be done.
When I started doing this 20 plus years ago, it was in North Dakota, and I never did a show that I didn't drive an hour and a half, it seemed.
Similar experience when I was in South Dakota.
Yeah, oh yeah, right. There's not still a lot of difference there, right?
Yeah. If you can't be in Sioux Falls, you're driving for 2 hours.
Yeah, and I would, I'd probably do like 60 shows a year, and 10 of those would be in my town. Because it's always better to get that guy from out of town. Let's get that guy from 90 miles away. He's got to be better.
The expert comes from out of town.
That's right, always, right. Yeah. You come in with your carpet bag, and here we go. Or in our case, speakers, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So this is awesome. So you have tons of experience. You've been doing like any and every kind of show for over 20 years. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your past, your up and coming as a mobile entertainer?
Well, as you mentioned, I've been doing it for a long time. I had the luxury, if you will, starting as a young child, as a teenager, really 88, as I went into 1988, long time ago, was I went into my senior year in high school is when I really started doing it on a regular full-time basis, as well as working on the air at a radio station 5 nights a week. So I kind of had that unusual start and upbringing. I also had a very unusual opportunity in that way, working in a radio station that did not provide a DJ service.
Oh.
I was able to tell the receptionist to start telling people, yes, we do.
We do.
We do
they
that.
hand that right over
and
to
then
you.
Send me that
That's
call.
pretty brilliant. Does the general manager know about that?
Yeah, he didn't care.
Oh, good. That's even better.
Yeah,
Because if he had known anything, he would have been like, we should get a cut of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Not knowing how profitable it could be.
Back then, especially, radio stations didn't look at that as a revenue stream. They looked at it as a headache, as another thing to have to do. And so,
Oh, no, I know. It's really kind of a missed opportunity.
it really was, and it was a great. I worked for American Entertainment, a company that really that's how they founded themselves, was partnering with the radio station,
Yeah.
which is a double-edged sword because it gives you, as a DJ company, it gives you instant credibility when
Yeah.
you are, KKLS music to go, as
Absolutely.
opposed to just the music guy.
You have the branding, you have the clout, you have the boy, this is like a celebrity kind of thing.
Exactly.
It takes it to another level.
Yeah, and you also have a natural advertising and promotion link, which works on the other side too. You are now naturally advertising and promoting the radio station
Right,
as well. So
right.
it's a one hand washes the other really well. So that was nice, and I did that. And just like a lot of DJs, I started with nothing. I followed a friend around, and I just kind of learned a little bit. And then I literally would take every record and cassette and CD I could find and put it in a vehicle and drive out and patch it together and make it make sound.
Right.
And do proms, and I did some company parties, and I did a little of this and a little of that, and until I started working for larger companies, and I just have always stayed with it, I guess. So.
And are you full time right now?
I am full time. I work for myself full time, which is part of living the dream.
Right.
It really is.
How long have you been full time?
Full time for myself right now, I would say. Well, exclusively full time since '09.
Okay.
And I've dabbled back and forth. I've always had, up until 2005, I was either a full-time radio guy who did mobile entertaining on the weekends,
Sure.
or I was a full-time mobile
Mobile guy
entertainer
who
happened to work at a radio station also.
Right.
And so for a long time, it was kind of, even though I worked at a radio station, party sound was all my own thing, and
Sure.
I didn't get a cut of,
Right.
I had a radio station owner who said, oh, we got to do that, we want to do that, and I'd say, here's how we can do it together, and
Right.
he'd say, well, I don't know yet, and I'd say, well, you don't mind if I promote myself, and he's like, no, go ahead, until we come up with a plan.
Right,
We never came up with a plan.
That worked out really, really well.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome for me, so,
There's
So,
a lesson
yeah, it was-
for asking for what you want.
exactly, and
Not being shy.
I did that until 2005, and then in 2005, I left radio, and dabbled, continuing to be a mobile entertainer and to be a DJ. I dabbled in some other things to fill the void, like a lot of guys,
Well, it sounds like it's kind of always made up about half of your income, if not more.
Yeah,
Your whole
for sure.
career.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I've tried to be other things here and there, and I fall back to it. I got a real job for a while, and that was great for almost a year.
Oh, wow.
Where I decided I needed the creative release, like a lot of guys in our business who you need that ability to get out there and to perform.
Well, and never knowing how it's going to go. I mean,
Yeah.
the best of us can go into a room and start throwing out hooks, and it's like, wait a minute, okay, that's not working. How about these hooks? How about these? Aren't you going to hook with anything?
Yeah.
And then suddenly, like, they get drunk enough, and then they show up, and you're playing some Neil Diamond song, deep cut, and
Yeah.
you're like all nutty for it. It's like, what happened?
Yeah, it's you never know. And
Right.
I don't want to say unusual, but I'm the oddball in the DJ world because I came to this from a performance standpoint. Being a DJ to me is not exciting or fun, or that's not why I do this. I do this because
You mean you were talking about mixing?
I'm talking about
being the DJ who's just like focused on mixing and sets and things like that. You were more out on the mic, and your music was a tool
Exactly.
to put in fun between the bits and things like that.
Yeah, for me, being a DJ, music is really just it's the thing that is the crutch between me and the microphone. That's all it is. It's that ability to allow me to get on the microphone and get in front of people and do that thing. Because I was diverted at an early age. Never be diverted, by the way. Stick to your guns.
Dangerous.
I was diverted by a really bad guidance counselor
Okay.
just before my sophomore year in high school, and they said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to college at Marquette and study theater, and then I'm going to go to Chicago, and I'm going to make it at Second City, just like my hero, Bill Murray.
There you
and
go.
then I'm going to be a superstar. And they said, oh, no.
How about accounting?
Yeah, they said, you can't do that. No one goes to college to be an actor. What are you, crazy?
What a guy!
You have to be a carpenter, and then one day you get discovered. That's how you become an actor. And I said, what? And so they basically said you have to have a vocation, a skill. And like I said, I was,
like,
naive enough to say, okay, that's not what I want to do. And so radio I went movies, TV, radio.
Going to the bottom rung.
Yeah, that was the next
radio.
step down.
Right.
It could have been worse. I could have said, I want to be a newspaper writer.
Right.
Sorry, John Young. But I pursued that avenue of it because back then you had to have a license to be on the radio. You had to go to school. You had to be trained.
Right.
You had to learn a skill and vocation. And so I luckily had the drive enough to get into radio and start entertaining before I had to go off to school and learn the skill and pay the money.
Sure.
So yeah.
Did you go to theater school?
I didn't. I did everything preparing myself for that. I did all the summer camps and the workshops. And if there was a workshop or an acting class or a way to act, I did it until I decided or was told I can't do it. I have to go into radio, and then I completely switched gears. And instead of looking for acting camps and acting schools, I went to radio broadcasting camps and radio schools.
Sure.
And tried to get whatever I could out of it that way until one day, like a lot of people in our business, I got sick of flipping burgers at an A&W, and I walked into the local radio station and said,
here I am.
I want a job. And an hour and a half later, I had a job. And so...
so many success stories start that way.
Yeah, it's crazy, but it works. So I was, I was diverted, and that's how I ended up. And so I never really took it seriously for a long, long time. Radio and being a mobile DJ, to me, was just another way to perform and to have fun. I never looked at it as, well,
this is I'm making my living.
I could make a career at this.
Right.
I could get a tie, and then I started working for a company who said, hey, you can make a career at this. And I moved into management. Now I'm managing other DJs and hiring and training and selling. And you get caught in the cycle like a lot of people do, where you realize one day that, man, I work really hard all week to make sure that I can work really hard all week.
Oh, yeah, right.
And you go,
Right.
And then you make foolish mistakes like say, I think I'll go to college.
Right. That's what I need. I need to spend more money on this.
Exactly. And so it wasn't until really, the last handful of years where I kind of started over in 2009, where I said, I'm not going to do any of this other stuff anymore. I quit radio in 2005, and like I said, I dabbled a little bit. I was an online poker professional for a while. That was fun.
That's a great career.
That leads to
it pays better than many other jobs.
That leads to fishing and drinking at noon.
Right.
It's not good. I sold furniture for a while, and that was really horrible.
Right.
But it was conducive to my personality to meet people and to talk and schmooze and crack jokes and have fun. And then I just one day said, "What are you doing? Why are you
choose?
Why are you working so hard to not go anywhere?" And so I said, if you're going to put this kind of energy in, instead of trying to juggle 2 or 3 things, why not just focus it all on yourself and your company? And that's what I did. And really it was, like I said, 2009 is where I kind of reset, and where I started going to more seminars and conventions and actively looking for ways to become better at what I do, and actively looking for taking myself seriously and taking the business seriously instead of rolling in and
just doing your thing.
Rolling into a wedding, already 3 drinks deep, and you're like, all right, man, we're gonna
party started.
We're gonna do this thing, because you get to a point where it can get really easy to do that in this job, because you can get lazy and it's easy.
You can get to a skill level where you can go and dial it in, and everybody still goes, "Oh, that was wonderful." You know what I mean? And you were like, it was okay, but you're not actually you're not in your game to oh, how can I really wow them? How can I take this to the next level? How can I if you're taking it on this is this is my career, and it really matters, and what I do for them and the experience that these people have really matters. So when that's something you take on, then it's then it opens up. Oh, okay, so what else can I do? A lot of more possibilities open up.
It's really similar to what I explain to a lot of brides and grooms when I meet with them, that people are used to going to weddings, and if no one dictates the flow of the wedding, if you don't have an MC who stands up and says, "Hey, everybody, here's what we're going to do.
Right.
Follow me." What happens is people will sleepwalk through the wedding.
Yeah.
They just go through the motions, and they're not engaged, they're not entertained, they're not having fun. Well, we can do the same as entertainers also. You get to a point where you can literally sleepwalk through a wedding or a bar or anything else, And you have to remember to stay focused and to stay alert
Right.
and to stay,
Yeah.
you are on stage, you are performing, all the time. And so
And the
you have
biggest
to
difference is the guest gets to choose when to leave, and you know when you get to leave.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly.
But through all that though, you
Yes.
still had to play. You still had to program music,
Mm-hmm.
and you still had to know enough to play. I mean, you can't play Donnie and Marie all night. You're not going to be able to keep it going with as entertaining as you may be. And I won't
Yeah.
take anything away from that. But it's like all night of Donnie and Marie, and then I think you might lose them on the Donnie and Marie after the first song.
Yeah.
So making those selections and deciding how you're going to program and what you're going to program where. And what I really want to focus on is the bar work, because actually playing in bars is a lot different. And there's even a distinction between playing a nightclub, where they got the DJ up in the booth and he's doing the thing and he's creating this ambiance, and doing bar work where you roll in mobile, you set up to entertain at the bar that night, because there's different considerations and different ways you program.
Yes, there certainly is. First off, personally, I don't do a lot of club type work. What you find is in most...
What's the difference? How would you define the difference between doing club work, if you were going to do club work, and doing bar work?
I consider the difference between a bar and a club basically, a club is where people go to dance.
Mm-hmm.
People go to a dance club, to a club type atmosphere to dance.
Sure.
They expect it to feel like a dance, environment. It's going to be darker. There's going to be more DJ lighting. The music is going to be louder. It's going to have a definite dance vibe and beat to it all the time.
Right.
A bar is a place where people go to drink and have fun. Sometimes drinking and having fun involves dancing and music and interaction of some sort and entertainment. So
Sure.
in a bar type setting, I feel like you're doing more entertaining. You can do a club and rock the house and have the best night of your life and never say a
Never
word.
crack the microphone.
Never say
Yeah.
a word on the microphone. Whereas in a bar, a microphone is obviously still your number one tool. So that would really be the difference between the two, is the mindset of the guest when they go in. Clubs are
Sure.
typically younger, more current top 40 type music.
So what would be the difference between what you would play in what you're playing in a club and what you would select to program at your bar? And I get it depends. So let's do a scenario of a particular bar and why you make the music choices you make for that particular bar.
First and foremost, when it comes to a bar, we have the advantage of we have to set up. So while you're setting up, gives you a great chance to employ and engage some of your DJ skills, which is first of all reading the room. Look at the people that are there, stereotype and profile them.
Right.
What do they look like?
How old are they?
Yeah. The other thing that's an invaluable tool for a mobile DJ in a bar setting is the jukebox. What type of music is playing right now? What music are they paying money to hear?
Right.
That's a really good tool. That'll tell you a lot about the type of people that are in there and the type of people that are going to be there. The biggest difference between programming music, and I never like the word programming music, because that implies when I got there
That you planned it ahead of time?
that I have an idea of what I'm going to do.
Okay.
I never have an idea of what I'm going to do, because you never know. You'll have to stay fluid and flexible enough to
Sure.
roll with it. But unlike, for example, a wedding where you're ramping people up and you're creating energy, typically at a bar, they're already there, or when they come in, they've got that energy. So a lot of times you need to start here instead of here. You really your energy is going to start higher. That's the biggest thing.
So what would that look like music-wise? We're just going to start
Specific songs.
Yeah, let's first establish the format of the bar. So so give us an example of a bar that you've worked where you pretty much assess that bar, and what's the music format that's going to work in that particular place. Just tangibles are a little bit easier to wrap the brain around.
I'm literally thinking of the bars that I've recently been playing in. And there's typically small town bars. Not going to be, if you're in Minneapolis, your corner bar is going to have a different feel than
Sure. And I think bulk of the mobile DJ work is in your more smaller town
yeah,
bars.
exactly.
Smaller town
and the reason I say that is because what you get is you very seldomly, when you go into a town that has 2,500 people and 3 bars, you don't, it's not like in an area where you have a sports bar and you have, the biker bar.
Right, where everything is really classified.
Exactly.
So these are hangouts.
What you do is you find, first of all, that it will surprise you, the music that you'll play. You'll play an 80s song, you'll play some classic rock, you'll play some new rock, you'll play some, you'll play a little
some
bit
dance,
of, typically you're going to play a little bit of everything. What I do find is that, just like at most places, your music is going to start older and move to newer.
Okay.
That's usually what happens. Younger kids come out later. older people come out earlier. So
Sure.
typically in a small town bar, you'll have that older generation, and by that I mean that 45 plus.
they're you know, the ones that are tanked by 8.
Yeah.
So that they can get to bed by 10.
Yeah, and they, maybe they went for dinner and now they're in the bar and they want to have some drinks, and maybe
Right.
they do want to hang out and listen and be entertained and drink. But those are the people that are going to come early, and they're going to want to hear your older classic rock, your Bob Segers and your that type of thing.
Roy Orbison.
Usually, a little bit of that.
I mean, are you playing like the standard hooks that you would do at a wedding?
Not
or
usually,
not
no,
usually?
not usually.
So what would you just be like, more like BTO? Is it more like just kind of good listening music? Like
A lot of times, yeah. A lot of times you're looking for that BTO, China Grove, those kind of things. What I look for early, especially in smaller bars where people aren't just going to get up and come out to the dance floor right away, is I look for what I call table dancers.
Okay.
They're talking, and they're bopping their head, they're tapping their
like
foot. They're acknowledging, they're feeling the music, they're
Right.
enjoying it. They're just not getting up and coming out of the dance
And you're
floor.
creating a groove for the room. You're kind of like starting to build that energy in the room.
Exactly. So that works a lot. That works really well. There's a niche from weddings that I call those oldies that you usually won't have much of at a bar. Even for those older people, they don't want to hear Pretty Woman again. They don't want to hear some of that
Rock and
stuff.
Robin.
Yeah,
Hang on, Sloopy.
No, that that stuff gets to be too old. That's
Like
an
your
oldies
old
kind of a thing.
old frat rock. Kind of
Exactly. Yeah. That sort
I
of
guess
stuff.
I'm sorry. Oldies are 80s now.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so Joan Jett, oldies.
Yeah, Joan Jett, Bob Seger, REO. You can do all those Tom Petty's, all these big
Right.
Aerosmith.
I suppose
those kind of
Devil
bands.
with
Yeah.
the blue dress on is going to be like eye roll. Like what's this?
Yeah, it's not. Nobody's. Most people that are out in a bar type setting are not going to be into that. Now, at a wedding, of course, you can certainly get away with that.
Well, you've got a much broader range,
yeah.
and also you have a captive audience that's there for a purpose that doesn't have. I mean, the range of expectations. Well, let's talk about the expectations of the bar. So,
Okay.
bar patrons have different expectations when they're in there, and you're trying to engage and entertain them, than say somebody that comes to a wedding. So, why don't you differentiate what that is? So it's not because they're not. You may seem like we're doing the same thing, but you're doing very different types of entertaining when you're in a bar, than even though you're still playing music.
Oh yeah, completely. Night and day, the difference between what you're doing from an entertainment standpoint in a bar. First and foremost, obviously, they're more casual in a bar type setting. They're going to be more casual. They're going to be more laid back. They're going to be more relaxed. Wedding patrons typically are in their wedding/funeral tie,
Right.
and they're feeling a little buttoned up. Hopefully, you got them unbuttoned during dinner, but your bar patron is going to be either looking to have fun, which for most, middle America white people, that requires alcohol. So they're gonna want to get their drink on before
Right.
they get their dance on. So you need to keep them engaged and focused. So their attitude early is usually to prime the pump, to start getting them kind of worked up. They want to
Sure.
get jazzed up.
Yeah.
When you're
Building.
getting ready to go out for the night, think about the music you listen to while you're getting dressed, or what your girls are listening to while they're doing their hair and things like that.
You mean like Wham?
Yeah.
Wake me up. Go.
So you're trying to create that atmosphere is what you're doing. You're
Sure.
creating that fun, that party atmosphere.
Right.
They might expect to be more entertained early. Late in the night, the music is going to be loud and it's going to be fast. They don't want to hear you yapping on about something. I've done things so ridiculous as to that first hour and a half in a bar when no one's just doing anything except drinking and hanging out. One night we read Dr. Seuss jokes on the microphone right out of the Dr. Seuss book.
That's funny.
Yeah, and people were like, "What is happening here?" But it kept them off guard enough to go, I better pay attention, I better stay with them. And then eventually you get out of that part and you get more into just the drive of the music and the dancing.
Kind
and
of getting them hooked in. And so my next question is like, there's that transition. So you're playing, you're working your oldies, you're doing your 70s, your 80s tunes, those sets as you're getting things warmed up, you're building the energy in the bar. And now there's a tipping point, or there's a point to which you're going to transition, or do you just kind of bounce between the lines before there? Is there a tipping point for you where you kind of like, okay, now we're going to slide into more current, or now we're going to, other than when that group of girls comes in and they want to dance to Beyonce, and you're like, okay, my starters.
Yeah, there's always a clear defined line.
So you think there's a defined tipping point in the night?
There is, but you never know where it's going to be.
happen,
And what'll happen is you'll look back and realize, oh, we crossed it. we're here. That's what
it's
happens.
time
It's
to
not
move.
like you go, okay, now I'm going to hit them. And so what I typically do is what I find is that I sprinkle them in a little bit.
Now you know where I went wrong.
I'm going to drop some dance music in here. I'm going to drop in a newer rock there. And always trying to lead up to that. I'll play a few different songs, that maybe lead to a newer rock type song, and then a couple different ones that'll lead to a newer dance type song. And people will react, and you want to read those reactions.
And watch that reaction. See what they're doing. See what they're moving. If they're dancing more where they're at, or
Exactly.
if you're drawing them into the dance floor space.
The thing to remember, the biggest thing to remember with a bar setting musically is never limit yourself. Like at a wedding, when somebody comes up and says, will you play One Direction? Will you play, will you play Timber? At a wedding, you're going to try to pull that person off as late as you can because you don't want to play Timber at 8:30.
Right.
You want to play Timber at 11:30.
Exactly.
At a bar, when somebody comes up and says, hey, will you play Timber? Yeah, I'll drop it in next. I don't care what I'm playing because A, they want that instant gratification because that's the culture we live in the society. B, if they requested one song and you got it to them right away, they start to like you, which is always important, and they're more likely to stay and continue to drink. No bar owner has ever...
The ultimate goal of what you're doing is to have people stay at that bar and drink at that bar all night.
Yeah. No bar owner will ever come up to you at the end of the night and say, if you're a DJ, and say, wow, a lot of great music tonight. Or if you're doing karaoke and go, some great singers tonight. They look at the receipts and that's all they care about.
Right.
So your job is... Playing music is just a tool to sell beer. I think there's a country song, we're good at, we sell a lot of beer.
Right.
We're not good musicians, but we sell a lot of beer.
Right.
And that's
keeping people there, keeping them engaged, and not giving them a reason to go, well, should we go someplace else, or getting bored,
Exactly.
Because, drinking is going to make you tired. It has that natural effect.
Yes.
Keeping that energy up and keeping that sort of thing going.
Yeah. The energy is important. But you'll find, back to your tipping point, you'll find a spot where usually what happens is the younger crowd comes in because they've been out, they've been getting ready, they've been pre-gaming as they call it at home.
Right.
Maybe they've been at some other bars, and they're going to come in, and they usually come in as a force. The number one tool you can use...
Would this be like your 10:30 rush? The bar I used to work at, I used to get a 10:30 rush.
No, this is going to be more of this is usually going to be more of an 11:30 rush.
11:30 rush.
If you get a 10...
Is that for a 2 a.m. close?
Yeah, either way, one or two.
Oh, okay.
So, if you can get a 10:30 rush nowadays, it's great. This is one of the problems that a lot of bar owners are experiencing is that rush that used to be a 10, it used to be a 9:30, and then it became a 10:30.
Yeah.
Now it's becoming an 11:30.
Yeah, with the later hours, it's spreading out the business, not giving them more opportunity to make more.
Exactly. And if you're in a college bar or close to a college bar, you're going to have younger people that are on tighter budgets and that are going to do a lot of drinking at home before they come out. So they only have to buy a couple drinks when they get out, as opposed to, getting drunk in a bar is expensive.
Right.
Getting drunk at home and then going out downtown and raising hell.
Right.
That's less expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's, you'll get that rush that will come in. Your number one tool, though, is the best thing you can do is use your microphone and ask them for the requests. Tell them right away. Come up and tell me what you want to hear. And then the important thing is play their requests. Whatever it is, whenever they want it, play it. Now, if it's a song that you know you're going to play a lot or is going to be huge, you can, mix it up. But you have to acknowledge that. In a wedding type setting, I can become more of the boss, if you will. People go, hey, will you play this? I'll go, that's really not a good choice. How about this instead? Or, I will, but I'm going to do it later. People in a bar don't want to get pushed off. They want what they want. They want it right now.
Well, what if you get the request that it's like, hey, would you play Stairway to Heaven, the LP version?
I would tell them, no.
Right, just kind of
I would just say no. I would just say no.
That doesn't work. That doesn't work here.
Yeah, no. That's going to kill it. Now, if it's that first hour, and there's 9.
Well, there's a lot of flexibility.
There's 9 people in the bar. Yeah, go ahead and play it if you want. And when people go, what are you doing? You go, you guys all know Joe? Joe requested this song. And what we haven't talked about yet, but part of what allows you the ability to play a song like Stairway to Heaven, because Joe really wants it, is your rapport with the guests. If you can't build that rapport with the patrons and with the guests, you're no different than any other guy out there playing music, or the jukebox for that matter.
This is where you have to be more than just music. You got to be more than I can put a killer set together, or I can have the best sounding speakers. That's anybody, and and then you talk about like, and this show isn't about pricing or isn't about like about getting the business, but since it's so relevant to what you're bringing up, it's like you might as well find somebody $100 cheaper if that's all it's going to be. It becomes pretty much same. for the most part.
Yeah.
And being the what is the expression, what is the more than music, is like being a connection there. Otherwise the jukebox can fulfill that. They
Sure.
go in, they make the request, they punch it in themselves, they get what they want every time.
Yeah, and that's where, personally, what I see is the bar business I do, especially the out-of-town bar business in the smaller towns. Those bars use me for their big special events because I charge more than all the other DJs and all the other karaoke
But you're
people.
producing a result that they don't get
Yeah.
from all the other
And
companies.
when I come into that bar and it has the list of entertainment for the month, it'll have a company, my name, a company, because they're not getting Party Sound, they're getting Jake Paul.
Jake, that's right.
And that's the thing that's different, and that's the personality. I've created this persona and this personality where, you never know what's going to happen. One night at a bar, we had a guy's birthday, and we literally had two girls pull his pants to his knee, stood him on the up against a pool table while one rubbed Cheese Whiz all over his naked butt.
Wow. That's
You never
insane.
know what's going to happen. And people are like, my God, when Jake gets here,
Can you believe
never know
what happened?
No, I don't even think we had music playing while that was happening.
Well,
So that's just-
there's also the barometer too. Like the bar that I worked at for a long time. Like my owner would flip out if I let that happen.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So at the same time, if you know that barometer, you need to stay in control of the room. Right?
Yes,
I mean
yes.
that happened because you let that happen, right?
Well, I encouraged it, actually.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Sure.
I mean, it's like
Yeah.
you're in control. Like you're the only sober person. Mm-hmm. The only sober person. Thanks for tuning in this week. That is the end of part 1. Next week, we'll continue it with part 2 with more great insights on playing the bar market and playing for bars. Thanks so much for tuning in to Mobile Music Thursday. We'll talk to you next week.